Broadcasting live from the IRSMedic studios, it's Parental Advisory. And thanks for joining us on Parental Advisory. Anthony, today we're talking about public tax returns. You know, presidential candidates making their tax returns public.
Right. It's so necessary that we look at these returns, right?
Very important. We know what's what.
We know what's going on. We could say these guys aren't hiding anything, and I guess maybe, well, they're just like us, right? They're just like us. They got to release their tax returns too. They're showing they abide by the law too.
Yes.
There we go.
So now, presidents, do they have to make them public, and are presidential candidates required to?
No, you don't have to make it
So
public.
no one has to.
Nobody has to. But people go and do it. And I just look at it as a little bit of, I don't know, sanctimony, I would say. It's kind of nonsense to do that. And I also think it's kind of dangerous to do that. What is required, what does happen when you do become president, every year your tax return is audited.
No kidding.
Yeah, you win an
that.
audit every year. So just don't go too heavy on those
Deductions.
Yeah, don't go too heavy on those.
I think part of what they're trying to do is show that, you know, if it's a presidential candidate, for instance, I'm an everyman. Look, I'm just like you.
Right.
Not really.
Right.
You're a presidential candidate.
You're a presidential candidate.
Different
You're
levels.
unlike everybody else, pretty much,
Yes.
right? You're running for the highest office in the land for the greatest country in the world has ever known.
Yes, and you taught me a couple very interesting things today as we talked about this. A tax return can only show the numbers someone puts in. It doesn't
Right.
show where the numbers came from. I assumed that this information was coming from like the IRS database. They just black some stuff out.
No.
So it's not necessarily signed.
No, it's not. A few, we've gone through some. Some of them are signed.
Sarah
but
Palin's was.
She signed hers, but a lot of them aren't signed.
With her personal check to pay $2,000. There was a copy of that.
Hopefully they blocked out the routing
They
and
did.
account number.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, they didn't, and I have to leave. So the other surprising thing is we don't know that this is necessarily what they filed. It's just what they filled out and are showing you.
Right.
Or did they amend it?
Right. I assume it's the thing that's filed. Did they amend it the next day? So it doesn't really mean anything. It means whatever they want it to mean. So that it was it the actual return filed? I don't know. And if it was the actual return filed, was it later changed? We have no idea. So why do it? And why act as this is some important litmus test to, you can't go for president unless you go through all of this. And if we could see your tax return, then we know. And I mean, it's kind of an invasion of privacy.
We learned some funny things.
Yeah, there are funny things.
By looking at some of these tax returns.
I wouldn't say it's not interesting. It's interesting what you can find, but some of it's not exactly what I would say anybody's business.
So what about FDR?
FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a horrible madman. He was the first. We have record of his income tax from 1913. I think he was Secretary of Navy by then. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe he wasn't in public service yet. But he had a gross income of $14,224.86, as he put down. And we don't know if this is actually the return that was filed. And by the way, things were different then. Every return was audited, so you can just throw something there. You're going to get audited anyway, so the return really didn't matter. So he put down $14,224.86. Who knows? And what was his tax due? Well, only $989.64 of that was taxable. The tax rate was 1%, so he owed $9.90, a little bit under $10.
Good old 1913.
1913, right. So that is kind of funny. Like, wow, have we come a long way? Where, 1%. So I guess maybe that would be nice for people to know. Hey, by the way, what was FDR paying? 1%, and really it was 1% tax on only a small fraction of his income. So really, have things changed?
And he didn't necessarily learn a lot about the tax system as he went on.
No.
Because in 1937,
Right.
he tells, it was a cover letter.
Of his return.
Of his
right?
return. And he said to the commissioner, he can't figure out what he owes.
Yeah.
He doesn't know which tax rate applies. Yeah. Was it the 1933 tax rate or the 1937 tax rate? He asked the commissioner to figure out what it was for him.
Yeah. And he says, I can't figure it out. My math, I don't have advanced, I think he's being funny. maybe, maybe not. I don't have the advanced level mathematics to figure it out. So why didn't you just assume the higher rate applied and file it and wait for the refund, right? No. Even when you are looking to tax other people, you're still looking to take care of number one. And also one of the things in the cover letter, he didn't pay the entire amount due with his tax return, which is required. Well, here's half of it. This is more than half.
It was the earliest offer in compromise.
So, you're getting a good amount here. So, what's your beef? So things that are just not going to pass muster now. You can't send something to the IRS and say, I can't figure out what I owe. Please send me a bill. No, you have to sign a return.
It's fantastic.
Like, wow. And here's half the money. Don't, let me pay it when I can.
Yep. A couple name things we found that were interesting.
Yeah.
Jeb Bush, his real name is?
John E. Bush. John E. Bush.
How about Ted Cruz? His first name is not Theodore.
No, it's not. Raphael.
Ted is short for Raphael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
When you're in politics, it's a good choice. George H.W. Bush made most of his passive income through a blind trust.
Right. A blind trust means you don't know where the money's going, who's managing it. That way, when you're making decisions, no one can really say you have a conflict of interest because you're saying, well, I don't know if I'm favoring my interest. I don't know if I'm hurting my interest. And that's where a lot of judges will put things into a blind trust. That way, when they're having litigation between corporate parties, a lot of judges would have to disqualify themselves. And in many cases here, it's like, well, I shouldn't be disqualified because I don't know if I'm actually doing anything to help me out.
Right. So that, if it is true, seems like it's on the up and up.
Right.
On the other hand, Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, they don't have a blind trust. No, they don't do that. No, they know. I think they got several bank accounts at J.P. Morgan Chase. And I think they are the ones who J.P. Morgan Chase paid Hillary some speaking fees of $250,000 to listen to the most electrifying woman in the world talk. They also have a Vanguard account.
Okay.
We don't know what's in the account. I'm sure they do. They could. And I would never suggest that Hillary Clinton would do anything crooked at all. But they could want to. Oh, we could help ourselves out if we help this company out.
This also brings us to the point of security risks. Yeah. Now we know where you bank.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is what it is. This is sort of, we have Donald Trump not doing it, not releasing his his tax return information. Finally. And I hope he sticks to his guns on this. I don't know if the pressure for people like, you got to do this, you got to do it. There's a pressure to do it, and hopefully people understand this is nonsense. It's complete crap. And here's this is really the reason why you don't want to release any information is because we know who your tax preparer is. When we looked at Ted Cruz, I know who his tax preparer is. I could easily, if I was a devious person, I could pose as the IRS and send it to his I could send it to his CPA to say, hey, here, Ted is under audit. I can get a whole bunch of information.
Oh, no, Raphael is under audit.
Right. I would say your client, Raphael, and I got that right, is under audit, is under examination. You have so much information. The IRS is even warning. Tax professionals are the target of tax scams. They found, hey, here's a weak link. You can exploit that information. And really, what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of releasing your tax information? By the way, Ted Cruz only sent out the first 2 pages of his return.
Yes, on some of them they were missing pages.
Right,
it went from page 2 to page 6.
Right, and I think Jill Stein has hers, and she looks like she has 2 photos. You could see it's stapled, and she didn't actually have the PDF. I guess she thought it did that, but it looks like it actually photocopied. It's a little askew, and just folded over. She just has pages 1 and 2. It's like, well, where's all the other stuff that went into the schedules? Because I see you have some income, but we don't know where it's from. So you release your return. No, that's not your return. That's a sample of it. It doesn't really tell us anything, but you're allowed to go like, oh, look, I'm being on the up and up. No, you're not. And it's really, one of our goals is that, taxes are so complicated. People are mostly ignorant about it. They just accept the standard, whatever the media is going to say about it. And right now, the media says the top tax rate is 39.6%, right? And we're going to do I think our next podcast is why that's complete bullshit, and it's actually much, much higher. So that's where we're trying to help people understand that this is nonsense. What's put out there is complete garbage. And if you were going to hide something, If you really were going to hide something, I could I could put a return out there that looks 100% right, but you're not going to see a damn thing where I'm hiding it. Because what happens when you have a partnership? You have a corporation. You're not filing the corporation return. You're not showing that. You're just showing a Schedule K-1 coming in for some income. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to show everybody the partnership return?
No way.
No. Well, you couldn't because your other partner say, no, you don't.
Duh.
So you don't do it. So it's just this incredible ignorance perpetrated of people don't know anything about taxes where they actually think you're actually going to learn something about somebody more than something superficial about what somebody's doing from their tax return when you have no idea if that's actually what filed.
It's sort of like you meet a really hot chick at the bar, and then you realize she's got spray tan, lip injections, fake hair, and you get her home and you're like, this is not what I saw at the bar.
This is not it.
Another way to hide things: gifts and inheritances to you are not reportable.
They're not reportable.
Unless they're foreign.
Yeah, right. But so if someone's giving you someone's giving you a bribe, you put it down as consultation or speaking fees. Not saying anybody would ever do that, right? But if you're paying a bribe,
bribes aren't allowed as an expense.
Right. Bribes aren't allowable, so they don't go online. Right? They're not an allowable expense. So you just say, okay, well, look, I did okay. I'm just not going to claim that this. I'm not going to claim that expense. So
consulting fees.
Consulting, right? That's
Speaking
big.
fees.
We notice consulting fees are big
on a
with
lot of these returns.
Right, a lot of returns. So it's sort of ridiculous. I love that Donald Trump has fought back and pushed back, and I wish that people would understand, regardless on both sides, that this is nonsense, and that you're really putting someone's ID at risk. You're putting your AGI down, and you might be putting the right number. Your AGI is used for identity verification purposes, so somebody having that can be very helpful to have. You don't want to do this. This is sort of an empty virtue signaling that actually doesn't mean anything, because it could be anything. You could file something completely different than what you said you filed. But also, if it is something that is real, you're exposing not just yourself, but other people, maybe your partners, your business partners, and other people at the CPA office, because now this person has this information. They're not just going to go for you. They're going to see who else is there. So you're putting everyone at risk. And so I'm saying releasing your tax returns for review tends to disqualify you from the presidency, if we really think about it.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening to Parental Advisory. You can like and comment below and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get updates. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Thanks for joining Parental Advisory, hosted by Anthony Parent, produced by Claudine Gindel, that's me, and engineered by Chris Chen. For more podcasts, visit our website at parentaladvisoryshow.com, and you can like us on Facebook to submit story ideas. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent & Parent, LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.